Okay. So I've lined up one of the older recordings. This is from the 20s, and it's a YouTube thingy. Have a quick listen to this. So that's a Bulgarish, recorded by the Archrias Orchestra. So it's Bulgar-ish. And the other thing about the Kamen folios, which I was just showing you, is that he does group the tunes and he puts Bulgar under Bulgarian. Now, if we then turn to Zev Feldman's book, Zev Feldman, obviously the author of Klezmer, the Bible, the big book on Klezmer, but he also has an essay in American Klezmer, the roots and shoots of its roots and offshoots. And this is if you haven't read this article, you really should. It's called Bulgariaska, Bulgarish, Bulgar. And it's about the evolution of the Bulgar as a genre. And Zev basically says that it's sort of a Moldovan, based on the Serba, the Moldovan dance. I think that's one of the things he says. It's quite a dense article. Zev's got a lot to say, and it's all very, very interesting. But what he talks about is the Bulgariaska rhythm pattern. And I'll just tell you what it is. He says it's ba 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 bum ba ra bum ba bum ba or rum bum ba ra ba 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 ra bum ba ba la da la ra ba ba bum ba ra ba da. But basically it's got that jump cha jump cha jump cha rum bum pa cha. Which, if we go back to Karen at the beginning, the pattern we usually talk about is jump cha cha pa 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 ra bum pa. So, and I've always wondered actually, because I've always felt there's a bit of this element of from time to time. So that was interesting to read that particular thing. So we've got a couple of different rhythms, we've got a couple of different tunes and dances. So there are things that people say about Bulgars, and I'm going to share my screen with you now. And ask you to have a look at these ones that I've put side by side. So I put some Freilichs on one side, and then I've put some Bulgars on the other side. I'm just going to get them up here for you now. There's the Freilichs, and here is the Bulgar. Okay, now I can't see how to press the screen share button because it's all covered. Here they come. Okay, so here they are. Can you see them on your screens? Nod? Yes? Good. Okay. So now I'm trying to move them about a little bit. So on this side we have the Bulgar, on this side we have the Freilichs. Okay. One's blue for some unknown reason. Okay. So can you see? There we go. All right, so let's look at the left-hand side. These are both from the Kostakovsky book, the Ultimate Klezmer, the Green Book. So we've got... Okay. On the Freilich side, we've got... Okay, I realise I'm playing them at very different speeds. Let me try and make them a little bit more standardised. So if I'm going... Okay. Okay, that's still probably not the same speed because I'm not feeling it at the same speed. What would you think of looking at the two and listening? What are the main differences? Anybody want to unmute themselves and give it a little?
Is it semiquavers in the Freyler?
Looks to me like there are more semiquavers in the Freyler, definitely. Yeah. Anything else? I've got another one here actually. Maybe we should. The other one's got another Bulgar here. What else do we seem to have quite a few of in the Bulgar that we don't have in the Frolux? I'll play the...
More kind of anacrusis at the start of the phrases. There's often an upbeat, isn't there?
There does seem to be more on that, yeah. Let me play I'm thinking of something else as well. I've got... Sorry, these random ones that I don't actually know. What are we lacking in the Frolux that we've got quite a lot of in the Bulgar? Let me triplets. I can probably say triplets. Yes, triplets.
About differences.
Milton, where did you come from?
From Brazil.
Welcome. I didn't see you coming in.
I think I arrived late. But in the Freyla, in the second part, suddenly it shows a Michelbera scale.
Yeah, there is a difference in the scales as well. Okay, yes. So we're sort of looking at the things, and I think what I mainly see is a rhythmic thing. I see a lot of semiquavers in Frolux tunes. I don't see a lot of things that look particularly syncopated. If I think of that kind of tune, or all these have quite a lot of syncopation, and that triplet thing, the triplet figures, very Bulgar-ish. So these are my kind of rules of thumb. Is it a Frolux or a Bulgar? Is it very semi-quavery and therefore you want to play it a bit slower just to let the rhythm breathe? Are there these triplety figures that have come from that sort of Serba side of things, the Bulgaria-aska? Are there little indications of syncopation within the melody that might give a clue that you want to syncopate more in the accompaniment? Okay, so these are my kind of rules of thumb, but the main one I actually use is kind of how many notes per bar. Because if you look at most of these Bulgars, the number of notes per bar is pretty small. So you can see in there lots of room for rhythm, I like to think of it as. Whereas in the Freilachs you've got okay, the other side. So for me, they just conjure up a very different feel. But I'm also trying to, when you listen to one, you think, oh, well, I know that's a Bulgar because it sounds more syncopated. They're using more syncopated accompaniment. But I also want you to be able to recognize one. If you see one, you know, you're saying to yourself, well, it's just called A Night in the Garden of Eden. Is it a Bulgar or a Freilachs? And we'll come in a minute to how do we make it more Bulgari or more Freilachs. Okay, so any questions or comments at this point? Anybody? No? Everybody happy? Okay. So I just played you that melody when I just started the recording, and it was very kind of four square, wasn't it? It was very Freilachsy. It wasn't like, and yet it was called Bulgarish. So it implies that at some point, you know, some kind of change took place, and things went more upbeat and syncopated, seeing as we associate the Bulgar with this syncopation. And if we put lots of recordings side to side, what I think we would find is that when you first start seeing the term used, it tends to be a bit more of a mix of rhythmic stuff going on. But by the time you get the Taras trios, Dave Taras, the clarinet player, the trios in the 50s, it's just pure and, you know, variations on that. There's not a lot of deviation from that, what we would think of as the Bulgar rhythm. So my favorite thing to do really is to start with the tune. And I suppose we could say, well, some of these Bulgars are earlier Bulgars and some of them are going to be later. And maybe that would dictate the way we accompany them. But let's, for the sake of argument, look at the different types of accompaniment we can do. And then we'll go back to some melodies and see how we fit those in. So, Karen, can I come back to you? Because you're our rhythm expert in the room. Could you just play us a basic Freilachs groove?
Yeah, I'll get my drum.
Didn't come prepared.
It's a darbuka though.
Drum solo, Karen.
Don't push it.
It's true. I'm sorry.
Okay.
The Freilachs, not the Bulgar.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
So that's just straighter, really, I suppose.
So if I was going to play the Freilachs on the right, the how would you be accompanying that? I think we probably go for a basic kind of. That would be my instinct. I don't know if you would agree. I'd be thinking sort of fairly straight, although there might be moments where I wanted it to swing a little bit more. So that's what I'd call our basic Freilachs groove. So let's all have a go. If you all mute yourselves, I'm going to, in whatever way you want, whether it's just playing I mean, let's do our basic exercise that we like to do, which gives a kind of bass line first. So we'll just do And then when you see the chord change, just change the chord as you should. So I'll start. Yeah, so we've got a kind of. Yeah, and then. And the mode shifts at that point from the major back. Yeah, everybody happy with that? So we've got a sort of basic Freilich thing there, going cha, cha, cha. Nice, rocking along, can do it for hours, a little bit of syncopation here and there where it feels like it kind of little bounce. I tend to put in it. Or just even a couple of dotted notes. Whereas if we come to the Bulgar, we've got. Sorry, I know a version of this tune. This is basically Yichus, the song Yichus. So here we've got the kind of. Let's try that basic rhythm all together for a second. 1, 2, 3, go. Good. So we've got all those little variations on that basic rhythm. We could also try the Bulgariaska there. Let's give that a go. 1, 2, 3, go. Yeah. Okay, so that's another kind of idea for the syncopation, isn't it? That's quite a nice one. So when we say the Bulgar rhythm, what people generally mean is this. And some people do it as a kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, yeah. Which in its pure element, if again we're boiling things down as we like to do sometimes, it is. But so now I'm going to play number 35, just maybe the first section round twice, and I just want you to try it with a kind of just that really dry accompaniment on 1, 2, 3, 1, 4 and 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, da, 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 da. Yeah, okay. On a D of some kind. Nelson, you can play your flute. You can just play a D if you want to. No?
I'm sorry, I didn't brought it here today.
Okay. It's not there in shot. It doesn't count. Okay. Or the keyboard is also fine, of course. Here we go. So let's go with that. Let's go with a. pretty dry. Should we put in another couple of beats just to kind of dun cha chung chung? Let's try. Yeah? Should we go one stage further and try? How's that going? Anybody? Any thoughts, feelings? No, nobody's got any thoughts or feelings. Okay. What's about?
Is it like? Is the play between the two, isn't it? So, well, I don't know, on the accordion you might be going, and then you'd be going. Is it the sort of between the two that you get?
Yeah, I think that's it, because things don't swing unless they've got something to swing against, basically. So if you're just swinging all the time, it's not that interesting, basically. So the secret is how do we accompany so that we keep ourselves interested, so that we're not just kind of on autopilot doing that rhythm. And for me, the secret actually just starts with the bass, because as you may well know, the bass is still just going. So the basis, as it were, is having good bass. And let me get my metronome out, my trusty metronome. I'm going to go for, that's 130. It works for this one. And of course, then there's the element of the dance, you know, because we're not just instrumentalists in a vacuum these days. Damn it, these people have learned how to do the dance. And so we quite often have to do the dance and play for the dancing. Let me see if I can find the picture of Dave Taras doing the Bulgar. I have one here in my book, which I put a marker in and have now lost. So the dance steps, as we know for the Bulgar, how many are there in the pattern? How many steps before the pattern repeats? Here's Dave Taras. Oh, you can't see that. I'll show you later. How many steps in the Bulgar pattern, people?
Is it 6?
Yes. Gold star all around. So I wonder if you can see I've got my dancing shoes on. Oh God. All right, this is a bit I didn't practice. So we're going right, left, right, kick, down, kick, right, left, right, kick, down, kick. I can see why Gary didn't want to do this on the 20th of June, but I'm sure there's a way. So we go right, left, right, kick, down, kick, yeah? And that's the step pattern. And if we do it too fast, that's okay. But if it gets much faster than that, I'm going to get out of breath. And although it is a quite muscular, sort of quite macho dance, and you could see that, I'll stop showing the screen for a second and show you this picture. It's the one with the hands across the shoulders, yeah? So if we're doing that too fast, then it just all becomes a bit out of control and it loses this kind of rum cha 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 rum cha 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 cha. Oh, sorry, I haven't got the chat on. Sorry. Yes. We can see your messages, Georgina. Yes. Are you all right? I can unmute you. Do you want me to unmute you? No, I can't. You'll have to unmute yourself. Okay. One of the problems is I can't see everybody at the same time. There we go. Now I can. All right, good. So we've got the kind of okay. That's what's going on in my head, I guess, when I'm playing. And the next time round it might be a little bit different, but so even for a tune like, probably we all know. So if I play da 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 da, it just sounds a bit weird, and maybe, I don't know, it's like an arrangement of some kind to me. People do play it like that. I have heard it, but for me, you wouldn't really be able to sustain a whole melody that way. So again, let's do we all know that tune, or you can sort of so it's got quite a lot of it's not terribly triplety. It's a kind of it's called Sherla, but I always think of this as a Bulgar because it hasn't got very many notes in the melody, and I can just feel a rhythm going along underneath it. I'm not just hearing I'm definitely in between there. So why don't you sort of play or sing the melody? I'll give you 4 and I'll see if I can do an accompaniment to your playing the melody. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so sometimes I'm playing the tune, and then I'm always like answering, but in rhythm. Again, so sort of dancing with the melody, if you like. So this time I'll play the melody, and you go with a bit of rhythm and see where that syncopated feeling occurs to you. I know it's a bit it's not very precise to say that, but so you know how it goes. You could just try it at any point. You could suddenly go and see if it fits in. That would be one way. You could start by going just all the way through, and then I'll play it again, and you can relax a bit and see if other things happen in between that rhythm. Should we try that? So start by just playing, and there's a C minor. Okay, see how you go there with that. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, Okay, so what happens when I stop playing the note, when I go? What happens in that bar in your rhythmic world? Let's do it that you unmute one by one, and I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you'll play, so it doesn't actually, because we can't do it together, but we'll all go ya da da dee dum da dum, and you'll be playing, okay? Because I want to hear what happens in those moments. So really think about those moments when I'm going da ya da 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 da. What happens there, okay? Who'd like to start? Can I start with you, Karen? Would that be all right? So if you count us in, count us in.
1, 2, 3, 4. Da, 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 da. I think it sounds better like that rather than having it straight.
Okay, and do you want to go from the beginning and play on the normal bar as well? So just play from the beginning, basically. Count yourself in, and we'll hum along.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Da, 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 do, 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 do. Sorry, I'm changing it, but
no, that's fine. I want you to change it. You do exactly what you're feeling. That's exactly my point. Carry on.
Okay.
Go from the beginning again.
1, 2, 3, 4. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Yeah, is that enough?
Yeah, no, that's good. It was kind of changing all the time. Yeah, next. Who's next? Alison, do you want to you could do it on one note, or you could just do it just playing one note?
Yes, it would take me all my time just to keep that rhythm going.
Give it a go, and if not, we can do it a different way.
Can I just stick to the one rhythm?
Yeah.
Is that all right?
Yeah, that's lovely. Thank you.
I'm a real newbie though, aren't I?
That's fine.
I'm just new to it all. Thanks.
Yes, no, that's absolutely fine. Sounds great. Beautiful tone. Georgina, do you want to give it a go with some rhythm, or you have to unmute yourself? I'm going to unmute everybody. Oh, there you go. I can't hear you. What browser are you using? You have to put it in the message. Okay, sorry. Deanie, do you want to give it a go?
Yeah, so I was thinking maybe what you're getting at is obviously the melody stops, so you have to fill it in there.
Well, you just do what you're feeling.
So I would go.
Yes. What happens, just sticking with you for one more second, if you're not playing rhythm absolutely all the time, if you kind of even play a little bit less Freilichs in the Freilichsy bits sometimes?
Do you mean on the left hand?
Yeah.
So.
It's hard to stop once you've got it good, isn't it?
That left hand just does its own thing, but you mean
Maybe it's just a suggestion. It's just a suggestion that because sometimes when Karen's playing like a rhythm part, and sometimes it seems to be a bit more and sometimes it seems to be a little bit less. And I'm just wondering, now you can do it, whether there's a sort of a way that sometimes you do more of it and sometimes you do less. I don't mean like an arrangement, I just mean that sometimes it might fit. So if I'm doing ya da 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 da, where you're doing more of that, like you did yum bum 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 bum. Maybe there are more times when you can just do, where it's less about the fingers and more about the, I don't know, just something to think about. Just something to think about. But it gives you another variety and another colour, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Muting myself, unmuting you. Yes, thank you. Have a think about that. Let's see what, Jane, do you want to give it a go?
Something like that, or I'd probably do, if there was someone else playing the melody, I'd probably just kind of do a little echo with this tune. And then some harmonies and stuff. I think that's probably what.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do a little combo, I think, of rhythmic stuff and harmonies and echoes on those long notes. It warrants an echo, doesn't it, I think? Yeah.
It speaks to everybody in different ways.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, thanks. Milton, do you have any thoughts at this point? Anything you want to share? No. Okay. Yeah, so what nobody's doing a long note in that bit. Nobody's going. That doesn't seem to be happening anywhere. So there are various different sort of things happening there. Sometimes it's an echo, sometimes it's a bit of rhythm, sometimes it's a bit of syncopation, but there's always something happening there. Okay, so that's our kind of rhythmic hat. So yes, I'm sort of thinking about variety. I'm always thinking about switching between and how I'm accompanying the tune. And you probably know by now that my favorite exercise with the Odessa Bulgar, the other one, is to actually accompanying it with the rhythm of the tune. So but hopefully in tune. And then sort of move on from actually playing the rhythm of the tune to doing it, you know, to seeing how the rhythmic feel comes along. So I think everybody has a very good feel for this style of tune. And what I now want to do is switch our hats from our rhythmic hats to our melodic hats, but not to take our rhythmic hat off altogether. So we may have 1.5 hats on. It's all sounding very complicated. So we've got a kippa, but underneath, on top of it, we've got our outdoor stremel, okay? So we've got a little bit of a 2-hat thing going on. So we've, we're no longer revealing our rhythmic soul all the time, except that, you know, the melody has rhythm in it. We've got... And one of the things about this kind of genre is that it's dance music, and basically I cannot sit on that note. I can't sit on a note for that long, and I'd never sit on a note till the end of the bar unless there's a rest at the beginning of the next bar. We might go back to the other melody and see if there's one of those, but basically I'm feeling the rhythm all the time. And that is where your upbeats come in. That's where your note bends come in. This is where your complement of things that keep the rhythm in the melody. Okay, so the simplest one will probably be. So keeping the note going and then giving a push towards the end of the bar, like when we learn the Bulgar, we learn. We always talk about giving the push towards the 1, even if it goes across 2 bars in a 2/4. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Basically with the Bulgar, if you get a lift loop, the David Licht rhythm thing that Michael Winograd was using when he did his solo show the other week for the Oval Tavern people, you know, that's the vibe that you're getting. So we tend to think of that even if we're not just playing and variations of that. So the so it's always something that's kind of driving it forward. And Dan was talking about, that's all about rhythm, keeping the rhythm in the melody, you know, when he was talking about that at the workshop on Sunday. Was it only yesterday? So yeah, it's about kind of keeping that lilt. So let's try. Okay, so just literally that upbeat there. 1, 2, 3, go. Yeah. Okay. It's not really enough for me. I can't be doing with that, particularly in that first bar. I need it to take off the second bar. I would definitely either do or something like, so with combining the D, A, D, A, D. And then I wouldn't necessarily need an upbeat because I'd feel that I'd driven it through enough to. So let's try that. 1, 2, 3, go. One more time. 1, 2, 3, go. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else got a suggestion at this point? Something they'd like to, we could all try out at that? I could be a little bit fiddly. So I could actually put in a little bit of secunda at that point, like a bit like Jane was saying, the opposite way round. So if you're going da, 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 yeah, so it's the opposite of what you were suggesting there. I might also do something like that. Might be a bit early and it's not very interesting, Phil, but just filling in the notes with a bit of direction. Something like that, but not that. Yeah, try that. Just a... 3, 4. And probably you could vary that a little bit. Make it a bit later. Let's try that. 1, 2, 3, go. Yeah. So it basically kind of stops everything sagging, doesn't it? It just means that there's you as a melody player are keeping the rhythm indication going for everybody else and not relying on them. And I think it's a very powerful way to structure your tunes, your melodies. So let's go back to the screen share and see if we can have a look at these tunes that we've got here. And I think it works better for Bulgar than, in a way, than for Frelux, because you've got more options. But having said that, what is a Frelux, what is a Bulgar? I didn't really address that question. And I said, well, there are fewer notes. But one of the things, maybe it would be more accurate at this point, when I'm talking about Frelux, to say, what tells me what rhythm I'm going to be playing, rather than what's a Frelux and what's a Bulgar. What tells me how I'm going to make the rhythm interesting? And what would tell me is if I see little indications, because even in Frelux, you sometimes have a bit of syncopation. You have a run of semiquavers where you could go a bit slower underneath, you know, the rhythm could be a little bit less to make the semiquavers stand out. So here, we've got, I'm not strictly talking about the Bulgar here, obviously, but we've got, I might suddenly feel a little bit of syncopation, create a jump, chum, 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 just to, I know a slightly different version of this. Okay, so there's a lot of gesture involved and there's a lot of supporting the melody in some places and sort of moving it along in others. I think it's a great role to have, isn't it, being the melody player? And I suppose that's what I was saying to you, Dean. It doesn't always need to be umpa when you're not doing something more interesting. Sometimes you could just let a bit of light in, perhaps, and you know, for us it's probably easier. And having said that, you know, when I was, one of the melodies I notated from an old recording was put in grade 4 violin, and they asked me to do a piano part for it. So I basically took, and I said, well, can't you write a piano part? I'm not a pianist, and you must have hundreds at the associated board. And they're like, no, you've got to do it. So I basically took a second violin part and tried to make it into a piano part. And then at some point I actually got onto a keyboard and I was like, well, this is rubbish. It absolutely doesn't work. What it has to do is this. You know, this kind of, because in the piano, that's what sounds good. So everything I say comes with a caveat that I'm a violinist. And, you know, certain things do sound better than others on the instruments, but I am giving you ideas. And I think, you know, for drummers, obviously, you're generally sort of keeping the rhythm ticking over in some way when you're on the rhythm side rather than the bass side, and cymbal occasionally and woodblock occasionally, but basically you're keeping it ticking over. But if you listen to somebody like Guy, and even yourself, Karen, I've heard you doing lots of interesting things in the middle. It's never the same all the way through. It's never choose a groove and go with it. And I suppose that's my main message about the Bulgar today. Just because it's a Bulgar and we know a Bulgar rhythm, it doesn't mean we have to play it all the time because each melody is different. Some of them are major at the beginning, and one of the things that Zev says in his article is that Taras and Brandwein both seem to like these tunes that start in the major and then go somewhere else. And Taras wrote hundreds of Bulgars himself. But there are other modal things going on all the time, as Milton identified. And basically, at some point, in America, possibly quite early on, they just took loads of different repertoire from loads of places and said, can we Bulgarize it? Listen, this sounds great, played in this way. We'll call it a Bulgar. And so you can find tunes that come from all over Eastern Europe, you know, because obviously New York was a great melting pot. And this book really does have a great selection if you're wanting new repertoire. I would definitely recommend dipping into that. And you'll find tunes in the different sections overlapping. Sometimes the Frohlachs is a Bulgar. Some of them lend themselves better than others. So the Serbers and the Bulgars are pretty interchangeable at points because they've both got triplets and that sort of thing. Other Serbers are more... when I first learned this tune... I learnt it as a Bulgar. I called it Alta Bulgar, Old Bulgar. And it's got all these triplets. In more recent times, we're told a Serber is... So it should be that. I mean, if I listen to the original, the version that the transcription was from, I think it goes... It's but a lot faster. Hence, it's quite a nice way, a nice way to play it. It's a bit easier. But so these things, you know, sometimes can definitely cross the rhythmic divide between the different genres. And again, it's just a question of is the melody suitable or not. It's not speaking to me in that way, that Frohlachs or Frohlachs on the right. But there's one that goes... It's definitely got a swing to it. It's got loads and loads of semiquavers, so my rule thing is just completely broken. But and in there, there's your indication. Whatever. So sometimes, you know, a tune can be taken upbeat and will work as a Bulgar as well. Again, Zev talks about one of the Taras tunes, the Ternovka share. I think he. But basically, he says Taras just called it a share. It was really one of his Bulgars, and he took a bit in the middle that's more semiquaver and definitely not Bulgar. I mean, it's impossible to do it, you know, speed. It does go quite fast, but it doesn't work with the Bulgar underneath. So I think use your instincts. Look at the title. Sherla, a little sher. A sher is a type of frola, but that sher says to me, not many notes. And I don't think it's just because I've heard it played that way, because I've also heard it played jump, jump, ba-dum, bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, and that didn't speak to me. So that is probably what I have to say, I think. Has anybody got any thoughts or comments? Let me take this screen share off. Stunned silence.
What's your favourite Bulgar?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I think we fiddlers, you know, we don't play the Bulgars so much. We we do a little bit. I'm still working on it because I'm working my way through these. I'm just going to turn the recording off for a second.